Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? When was this? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage.
So I'm going to go stolen valor first.
Yes.
So obviously this was going to come up because the Trump campaign manager was the one behind the John Kerry Swift boat attack, which was obviously very persuasive to people. He served for 24 years. Honorably, then he stopped to run for Congress on a platform of ending the war. And I don't think that anyone, especially with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, did he dodge the draft 4 or 5 times? Bone Spurs, Captain Bone Spurs? What say you, Judge?
Damn!
This was almost perfect, right? My only note is that there's no way this guy's a captain. That's private Bone Spurs for sure.
Bone Spurs are a very serious issue, Jessica.
I can tell by the way you said that you know that it's not serious.
Yeah, but you know what?
After Kamala Harris selected the hugely likable veteran teacher and high school football coach, I'm thinking of the other guy, coach.
And I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
Tim Walz to run as our VP, it incited a hellfire of attacks from the Trump campaign. And their latest strategy is to accuse Tim Walz, a veteran of 24 years, of stolen valor.
Sir, Donald Trump avoided the draft, claiming he had bone spurs. Nobody on his ticket, and especially him, have any right to attack anybody's service to the United States of America. When he was unwilling to even lift a finger when his country needed him, he abandoned his country.
Yeah.
Walz enlisted in the Army National Guard in Nebraska at 17, completing 20 years of service in 2001, before re-enlisting for 4 more years after the September 11 attacks. He deployed to Italy on active duty to support base security as part of Operation Enduring Freedom, the first stage of the US's war on terror. And while the governor has openly acknowledged never facing combat during his 24 years of service, the MAGA contingent, those saluting a man who dodged the draft and called avoiding STDs his own personal Vietnam, are taking issue with Tim Walz's military service.
Ahead, the walls are closing in on Kamala's running mate's stolen valor scandal.
But seriously, the walls to me seem to be closing in.
First of all, the walls are closing in on Joe Biden right now. The dominoes have started to fall.
And tonight, the walls are now closing in on the Biden White House.
And they're going to be able to, the very first time in a public setting, under oath, be able to explain to the American people how this scam was working.
The walls closing in on the Biden family syndicate. Greg Jarrett.
But there's a couple of videos I wanted to highlight here in response, right? First is from Pete Buttigieg, someone who knows service better than Trump ever could.
What you think of the vice president's pick and what you think Tim Walz will bring to the ticket?
I'm really excited. Like you said, she had so many great directions she could go in. She also has found an extraordinary partner who has brought that joy immediately to the campaign trail, and somebody who I think sets up this ticket and this campaign even more than was already true to be about all of us. That's the thing I'm really excited about. As you showed, he has such a compelling story, such an interesting biography, classroom teacher, many years in the military, football coach, and then a very effective member of Congress and governor. But one thing you noticed right away about him is that it's not about him. I was thinking about what those different experiences have in common. Being a teacher, being a coach, being a senior non-commissioned officer. And what they all have in common is they're all about cultivating and supporting other people. And you can tell that's what he's about. And that's what this ticket is about. I think it's one of the reasons why the Trump campaign can't figure out what to do with this ticket, even more so today than what's been true ever since she became the nominee. They cannot fathom a campaign or any leaders who are not about themselves. But this campaign, as impressive and compelling as the ticket themselves are, they've also made it clear that this campaign isn't about them. It's about you. It's about us. It's about the future of this country. And I think his personal qualities and his message really speak to that in a way that's going to continue that focus on the American people. That's how she's going to win this election.
And then this response from Jessica Tarlov as she reminded her co-hosts who tried to peddle this same vitriol, who they often bend the knee to. Cadet Bone Spurs. Yeah, just demoted him after today's press conference.
Ahead, the Walz are closing in on Kamala's running mate's stolen valor scandal.
So I'm going to go stolen valor first.
Yes.
So obviously this was going to come up because the Trump campaign manager was the one behind the John Kerry Swift boat attack, which was obviously very persuasive to people. He served for 24 years honorably. Then he stopped to run for Congress on a platform of ending the war. And I don't think that anyone, especially with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, did he dodge the draft 4 or 5 times? Bone Spurs, Captain Bone Spurs? What say you, Judge?
Bone spurs are a very serious issue, Jessica.
I can tell by the Bone Spur Association that you know that it's not serious.
Yeah, but you know what?
Now, are any of these baseless attacks surprising? Of course not. Ad hominem is all they have. Hell, even Walz said this himself, that when you strip back the insults, the fear-mongering, demonizing people, they have nothing. No policy, no plans.
These are weird people on the other side. They want to take books away. They want to be in your exam room. That's what it comes down to. And don't, get sugarcoating this. These are weird ideas. Listen to them speak. Listen how they talk about things. Listen to how your previous guests were right. Like you said, they've told them that they shouldn't talk about race. They can't help it. It is built into their DNA because there is no plan. There's no healthcare plan. There's nothing to do on this. They want to take away our alliances and leave Russia to do whatever they want. Look, they are bad on foreign policy. They are bad on the environment. They certainly have no healthcare plan. And they keep talking about the middle class that, as I said, a robber baron real estate guy and a venture capitalist trying to tell us they understand who we are. They don't know who we are.
And this was never more apparent, by the way, during Trump's train wreck press conference.
Mr. President, you have not had a public campaign event for nearly a week now. Tomorrow you'll be in Montana, which is not a swing state. Some of your allies have expressed concern that you're not taking this race seriously, particularly at a time where there is enthusiasm on the other side. Why haven't you been campaigning this week?
Because I'm leading by a lot and because I'm letting their convention go through. And I am campaigning a lot. I'm doing tremendous amounts of taping here.
Where he failed to offer any coherent response to questions on policy. Most of his answers actually reminded me of that one kid called upon in class that didn't do the reading.
So I think the abortion issue has been very much tempered down, and I've answered, I think, very well in the debate, and it seems to be much less of an issue, especially for those where they have the exceptions, as you know. And I think it's when I look for 52 years, they wanted to bring abortion back to the states. They wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade, and that's Democrats, Republicans, and independents, and everybody.
You just said that there was a peaceful transfer of power last time when you left office. You didn't concede. You didn't really sit to the hat. How was that a peaceful transfer of power?
What's your question?
My question is, do you think the last time was a peaceful transfer of power when you left office?
No, I think the people that, if you look at January 6th, which a lot of people aren't talking about very much, I think those people were treated very harshly when you compare them to other things that took place in this country where a lot of people were killed. Nobody was killed on January 6th. But I think that the people of January 6th were treated very unfairly. And they were there to complain, not through me.
There's a fact check there, so we're just going to run through things here. He said that no one died on January 6th. People were killed. We know that. Ashley Babbitt, 3 others died from medical emergencies. 1 officer died immediately after having been pepper sprayed in the day following. There were 4 officers who died of suicide in the months after. He talked about how there's a constitutional issue for how Kamala Harris was chosen by the Democratic Party. That's not true. The Constitution doesn't govern how the party selects its candidates. He also talked about the border. He said 20 million people over the border. That's grossly exaggerated. He could have just gone with the actual number. It's not a great number. He chose 20 million. But actually, crossings are down for the last 4 months, the lowest they've been in 3 years since the president signed his executive order. He certainly did not mention that. That is not the picture that he painted. And he also said that in Afghanistan, there had been no deaths in the 18 months before the withdrawal, that no one was even shot at. Well, tell that to the service members who were wounded in 2020. They certainly would disagree with what he said there. He is right, though, that no one died until the withdrawal. And that is in part because that 18 months he's talking about, that is the timeline for when his administration negotiated with the Taliban to secure a deal for the U.S. leaving Afghanistan. His administration negotiated that deal, and then he left the execution of that for the Biden administration. Yes, the withdrawal turned out to be a debacle. Critics of the deal also say the deal was a debacle. There are a number of other things, and that includes the crowd size, which he told a lie about of Kamala Harris.
Which clearly is getting at him because he stayed on crowd size for a long time.
So with all things considered, and the fact that poll after poll continues to show the momentum shift is with the Harris-Walz ticket, expect more of these unsubstantiated attacks because it's all they have.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.